Hey, what's going on, guys? So in a couple of recent videos, we took a look back at some of my top favorite HG kit releases from both the Build Fighters and the Build Fighters Tri lineup. In today's video, we're taking a look back at the HG Iron-Blooded Orphans line of model kits, and I'm going to tell you what some of my favorites were and explain why, and you guys can let me know what some of your favorites were in the comment section down below. The HG Iron-Blooded Orphans line, I feel like, was very significant in a lot of ways. Number one, we just had a lot of kits out in the line. There's 45, and kind of still counting if there's any more that's going to be coming out. 45 mainline kits, that's not counting any of the exclusives, and also that's not counting any of the weapons packs, which I feel like are also worth mentioning because there was some really fantastic weapons packs out in that line as well. But 45 HG kit releases is nothing to scoff at, so we had a lot of great options in the line, and for the first time it really introduced something very interesting in that we had almost an entire inner frame in an HG kit, which was kind of unheard of up until that point with the release of the very first kit in the line, the Gundam Barbatos, and then after that, obviously we saw it in a lot of the other Gundams in the line there as well, where you have almost an entire inner frame. Now, a lot of that's just due to the design of the Gundam and just kind of the way that it's designed. It needs to have a lot of inner frame because there's a lot of exposed frame in the design, but it was certainly very significant and certainly something that got a lot of people's attention with the release of that first kit. And then we saw overall with the line of really high quality, I feel like, in terms of just the detail of the kits. They were really nicely articulated. I think that some of them got to be a little bit sticker heavy, some of them were a little seam line heavy. Again, it's just kind of due to how the mobile suits were designed. There was certainly a lot of fantastic mobile suit designs that came out as HG kits from the HG Iron-Blooded Orphans line. So let's take a look at some of my favorites. Now, I mentioned the Gundam Barbatos, and while I feel it's definitely significant and worth mentioning, it's not really necessarily one of my personal favorites. If I had to choose a favorite version, I would say the Gundam Barbatos Lupus Rex is my favorite version in the HG line, just because it's so unique in the style of it, having these big massive arms, the tail gimmick and everything. It just was so different from anything that we've really ever seen in Gundam. I mean, not only just the design, but the proportions and everything was so unique about this one. So that's definitely something that made the Gundam Barbatos Lupus Rex stand out, and it's definitely one that I would recommend checking out. If I was going to recommend someone to build any version of the HG Barbatos, I would say build the Rex, because it's so different and so unique. Then after that, we have the Graze, and there's a number of different versions of the Graze. Probably my favorite versions would either be the Graze Custom or the Graze Kai, or Carta's Graze Ritter. I think also was a really cool variation as well, and that one's probably my personal favorite. But take your pick of the many different Graze variants that we had out in the line. There was the standard version, there was also the Schwalbe Graze and the USA Go, and a number of other different versions as well. And any version's great. It's a really, really cool kit. It's such a great design. Basically, Iron-Blooded Orphans version of the Zaku 2 from the original series, sort of their tribute to that mobile suit, right? With it being a green colored grunt with a mono eye, basically. I mean, it's like a Zaku, right? But it's such a cool design, a great kit, super solid, nice weapons, nice accessories with that, in particular with the Carta's Graze Ritter. That one's definitely probably my favorite amongst them, but definitely have to build one of those. This next one is one that I really liked a lot. I don't know if it really got as much love from the fan base kind of overall, as much as I really liked it, but the Hyakuri was such a really cool design as well. Again, with this one thing that I really appreciated about this was just the uniqueness of the design. You have like this very thin, slender mobile suit frame, but with this big kind of massive like head backpack thing going on, and it has a sort of quasi transformation where it goes into like this high-speed mode where the arms can be kind of tucked back up into this kind of head backpack. It had some cool weapons and accessories in there as well, and overall was just a super unique design, really fun build, really great colors on that as well. And that's one thing that I really appreciated about a lot of the mobile suits in this line. Also introduced a lot of really different and unique color schemes in a lot of these mobile suit designs, and this is certainly an example of that, with it being just like a brown based color scheme, but it's really cool. I like it a lot. This next one too, I feel like a lot of people, you guys might agree with me on this one, that it was a lot of fun kind of for no particular reason, but the Rodi, this was a kit that I really enjoyed a lot. And going into it, you know, it's very simple. It's just kind of this round little egg boy that's not really anything too spectacular for any reason, but it's such a fun kit. Is a really fun build, a cool little build, very simple and straightforward, but again, like nice design, nice details on that, and just makes for a really cool, fun build. Again, this is something that you're going to be hearing me say a lot, but it's very unique, and yeah, I can't really explain it, but there's just something so charming about the Rodi that it's definitely one of those kits that I would say you have to build if you want to check out some kits from the HG Iron-Blooded Orphans line. So up next, another one that I did actually do a custom paint job on this one. This was the Grimgerde, and I had a lot of fun working on this. You could also substitute the Sigrun in here as well. I think the Sigrun actually probably offers a little bit more in terms of like gimmicks and stuff that you can do with it, and I think between the two, there's a lot that I like about either version, but the Grimgerde is kind of the first one, the Sigrun's the much more recent release. But these two kits sharing the same frame and being kind of similar, I've just kind of put them here to be sort of interchangeable. Either one of these I would highly recommend to you guys. A really super cool design, again, very to beat a dead horse, very unique with the rabbit ears design aesthetic like on the head, and just a very, again, very cool, sleek, slim design, and just works really well with the weapons that it has with the swords weapons. And again, really cool color scheme with the Grimgerde being in this kind of maroon color scheme, the Sigrun being in that kind of more powder bluish purple, like light lavender kind of color scheme was also really cool. Up next, I wanted to separate this from the Graze, even though it's sort of like an evolution of the Graze. You could sort of maybe consider it as a variation, but it's definitely kind of the next step, like going from a Zaku 1 to a Zaku 2. We have Julieta's Reginlaze here as well, was just a super cool kit. This is one, I think maybe this, the Rodi, and Carta's Graze Ritter, I think are the three kits from the line that I actually bought more than once. So I guess that's telling you something. So I actually have a couple of this kit, just because this one as well is such a cool design, very similar to the Graze, just in terms of why I like it, why I appreciate this one, is because it's a really cool sort of grunt design, but in this case, obviously a little bit more of like a specialized grunt here. But really cool, sleek design, cool colorway with the dark green with the white accents. We're gonna see that as well here, obviously, with the Reginlaze Julia, and I didn't really know which one of these I wanted to include, if I wanted to include one, not the other. I felt like I needed to mention both just because they're both super cool. I love Julieta's Reginlaze just because it's kind of a more standard mobile suit. In my mind, the Reginlaze Julia is almost sort of like a mobile armor in all the extra stuff that you have on it, which is what makes it really cool. So I feel like it's worth kind of mentioning about both. I think both are really cool, and I would recommend, you know, at least checking out one of the two, if not both, if you can get your hands on both. They're both such awesome kits. And the Reginlaze Julia, I think maybe it's worth mentioning. It's such a great kit on its own and definitely worth picking up just for itself. But it's one that I see a lot of people using for kit bash fodder as well, because it has all those extra parts and all the extra stuff on there. It's a kit that you see getting used just as people using those parts just as kit bash parts for adding onto other kits and things like that. So I mean, if that's what you're looking for, this is a great kit for just grabbing some parts for kit bashing as well. A lot of those parts can be repurposed onto different design aesthetic ideas. So I've got a few left here. One thing you'll notice about a lot of my picks is that there's not a lot of the Gundam designs on here. I actually liked a lot of the other mobile suit designs a lot more than the Gundam designs from this series for me personally. Although I will mention here a couple more, one of them being the Gundam Vidar. I think among like the Gundam designs that we saw a lot primarily through the animated series, the Vidar is probably the one that I thought was the most interesting, the most appealing to me personally. This one also has some really cool gimmicks in the design with the like replaceable sword blades that it has stored in the side skirts. So it's got cool gimmicks, it's got a really cool design, cool colorway there with the black and blue, and then with the like white and red accents on it. Obviously, one thing that is going to be true for a lot of these HGs, I talked about how some of them are a little bit sticker heavy, some of them are a little bit seamline heavy. The Vidar is another example of that, where it's also missing some significant color apps in there just as an HG kit. It's an HG at the end of the day, so you can't expect it to be completely color accurate. But I love the Vidar as an antagonist Gundam mobile suit. It's certainly a really cool design and fits quite well, I think. One more of the non-Gundams is going to be here, the Helwige Reincar. The Helwige Reincar was also another one that was based on the Valkyrie frame, like the Sigrun and the Grimgerde, which I mentioned before. But obviously the Helwige Reincar, very different in terms of its kind of overall shape and proportions, being this big, like Hulk. It's not slim and slender at all like the Grimgerde. It's like a big, thick, like Hulk looking mobile suit here with this gigantic sword. So if you were looking for something a little bit more to that aesthetic, the Helwige Reincar is really cool. It has the cool like horns on the head and just this big chunky design, and that sword is just so cool. It's just so huge. It's ridiculously huge, but it works really well with the design. And again, the colors for this one is really cool. I really love the Helwige Reincar. It was a great kit. And then the last one here that I'll mention at number 10, if you weren't counting, I'm talking basically, I broke it down to top 10, but we've mentioned more than 10 in total. Mentioned a bunch of different other variants, but it's kind of like a top 10. Number 10 is the Gundam Astaroth, and this one again has variants. You could go for either the original Astaroth, the Astaroth Origin, the Astaroth Renascimento. There's a couple of different versions that you could choose from. Just going off of the original Gundam Astaroth, though, I think this one's really cool for a number of reasons. Number one, it has a very cool asymmetrical design design if you're into that. If you like the asymmetry in this one, I think this one's really cool. And it's one that you can actually make symmetrical if you buy 2 of them. So there's that option available for you. But if you did like the asymmetry, this is one that's certainly got you covered. Not so much in like the Origin version. I think the Origin is symmetrical. The Rinascimento is not symmetrical. Anyway, this one again has some cool gimmicks between having a gun, having a sword, having this kind of shield, claw, hand, and again, the colorway, the design, the details of this one is really nice. This is another great one for customizing, great one for kit bashing, and that's the thing that I think is gonna hold true for the entirety of the line. That's one thing that I love about the line, is if you like kit bashing, the HD Iron-Blooded Orphans line is fantastic for kit bashing because so many of the kits are built either off of the exact same frame, or they use the exact same polycaps, or they use the exact same connections. So you could take the arms from one kit and swap it with the arms from a different kit, the legs from one kit and swap it with the legs from a different kit, the backpacks, the head. Everything is like very interchangeable between like the main sections of the build. So if you like doing that, you could grab a couple of different Iron-Blooded Orphans Gundams, take like the legs from one Gundam, the arm from another Gundam, the head from this Gundam, put it together and make a completely original design. Super, super easy to do. So if you wanted to try experimenting with like really super basic beginner level kit bashing, the HD Iron-Blooded Orphans line is fantastic for that. So that's going to be my list of the top 10-ish designs of my favorite HGs from the HD Iron-Blooded Orphans line. What are some of yours? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. One other important thing to mention, if you guys are watching this and thinking like, oh, I want to go and check out some of those kits, if maybe some of them are ones that you either hadn't heard of before, maybe you missed the release of them, or maybe you never really paid that much attention to the releases and now you want to check them out. One great thing about this line, as well as all the other great things that I've mentioned so far, is that generally, the HD Iron-Blooded Orphans kits are very reasonably priced. They're quite cheap, which I think is awesome as well compared to some other lines. So long as the kit has recently been reprinted and you can pick it up for, near MSRP, you can get it for a quite reasonable price. So they're great, again, for if you wanted to pick them up for kit bashing, or if you wanted to pick up multiples of the kits. Like I said, there's a number of kits in the HD Iron-Blooded Orphans line that I've bought multiples of, and the fact that they are priced so reasonably is a really nice kind of little cherry on top. So let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. If you guys want to check out some of the kits for yourself, you can check the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store. We've got a bunch in stock now, some I should say, and as many as Bandai is reprinting. We're having them in stock here. Hopefully some more will be reprinted soon for you guys, but check the link in the video description. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. Leaving a comment, leaving a like helps out quite a bit. So thank you guys. Making sure that you're subscribed also helps out. So really appreciate y'all. Have a great day. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.